Yes, 30, of course. We are now in our microphone era. Go ahead.
Hello, sirs. I'm Birdie from NNA Asia. So I just like to know, what do you think will be the growth drivers of revenue? Drivers of revenue growth and headcount this year, and what are the risks to achieving your revenue growth targets this year? Is the skills gap one of them? Thank you.
Growth drivers came from several areas. We continue to see growth in the healthcare sector. Banking and financial services continues to grow, as well as the more traditional contact center services. So the big ones are all here, and we saw growth across the board from these three, and I think that almost every member that we have spoken to want to increase their Philippines footprint, and the only hurdle is really finding enough employable talent. We still grew 130,000, but I feel it could have been even more. So this is something we want to address in the coming years. What could threaten that? Well, I guess not everything is within our control. Aside from the talent issue, I think, obviously, global economic headwinds could be a factor. But it's funny, there have been years when recession in North America actually results in more jobs being offshored to the Philippines. So sometimes their loss is our gain, because cost optimization will always be a big criteria for companies to decide to move their operations to countries like the Philippines and India. And so as long as we remain cost competitive, as long as we have the employable talent, I really don't see any major threat in the near to medium term. I would rather focus on the talent challenge.
Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you, Darlene.
I need Abante. I just want to ask is the FATF gray listing an issue for you? Because if you talk of, they've been saying that we need to get off that list, and we were put in the list in 2021, and last year they said we need to do it fast. So far what we've done, what the BSP has done is close mom and pop money changers, but nothing really in a big way. And if you're talking of the FATF, we're talking of flow of funds, and it could restrict the flow of funds into the country and out of the country. Is that not a threat?
Can you talk about this?
FATF is the money laundering. We're on the blacklist.
Wait pa yan.
Gray button, sorry. Don't vote that.
You'll get there.
Well, yeah. Officially, it has not come up in any discussion with our members. In theory, it could be a thing. Actually, what's come up more often is talent, supply, costs, technology costs, and of course, I think a big driver of the rebrand is also the impression that the Philippines is not the #1 destination for certain functions. For example, technology function normally goes to India first, then we get the spillover. But that's for US. In Europe, we're not even on the list because of obvious reasons, like we need language skills. But these are not insurmountable obstacles. It doesn't take a lot to create a multilingual task force. Pero malaki yung branding. We can improve the branding like that.
What exactly was the problem with the image before that needed to be changed and didn't quite get it?
Yeah, I think Jack, you mentioned this. In India, it is not shameful to work for a BPO amongst Indian families. In the Philippines, I think it's less now, but before, people would still have that stigma. But magbi-BPO ka rather than be a proper doctor or nurse or engineer. Entry-level BPO jobs pay higher than entry-level engineer jobs. That's actually another issue with the semiconductor sector, separately to sort out. But now we're some of the top. We hire a lot of accountants. I'm an accountant by training because we have a lot of financial services outsourcing here. A lot of nurses get their first jobs in a BPO doing medical healthcare work before they become an actual nurse or maybe go abroad now for a nursing job. So it's proving to be an interesting alternative to being an OFW. Para ka ng OFW but you're still based in the Philippines. And this is especially true in the countryside. I think our target is to grow 40%
to
40% of new jobs outside NCR. I don't think any other industry can match that. Right now we have a high concentration of work, Metro Manila, but BPOs are going outside Metro Manila.
Thank you very much.
You know, that's why we need to do this rebranding, because there's still a fundamental misunderstanding of our industry as a career. People think call center lang yan. But I'd like to say, you know, a few blocks away from here is a building, a beautiful building that is occupied by JP Morgan. And I think the 20,000 Filipinos employed there would not call themselves call center agents. They're bankers, providing banking services to American customers. They displaced 20,000 American jobs. It's now done by 20,000 Filipinos. So we really need to just change this image, including the photos that some of you guys still show in your articles. These are not the workspaces of our industry anymore. So these are world-class facilities, and not just here in BGC, but even in Cebu and Davao.
So essentially what you want to tell people is that it's a viable career path.
It's a long-term, viable, fulfilling career path and a pathway to the middle class. It's not just money, it's actually skills development and the ability to serve global customers.
And earlier, Jackie also mentioned high value work, right? We're doing globally important work, and that's really what the Filipino talent is, you know, giving the world, right? Okay, thank you very much for your question, Ms. Eileen. How about the rest of our guests? Go ahead, Alden.
Yes, good evening, sir. Alden from the Philippine Daily Inquirer. Sir, you mentioned the issue of having trouble finding competent talent. Is it more of a problem of there's not a lot of people applying, or is it more of, you know, applicants failing your test? So is it a problem of interest or actual competency?
It's a demand-supply issue. The first reason is there's way more demand than supply. Now, if you look at the reasons for the lower conversion rate of people interviewed, there are many identifiable skills gaps, depending on the specific industry. But I can say that it's a combination of maybe IT type skills, data analysis skills. There's also a bucket where some of there are some fundamental gaps in comprehension and critical thinking. And then there is also specific domain skills. Everyone's looking for nurses. Everyone's looking for accountants. These are the two most common, domain skills that are missing. Apparently, there are less people studying accounting now. And then the whole world is pirating Filipino nurses. We can't produce enough. So it's a combination of technical skills, domain skills, and some soft skills.
If I can add on the accountant piece, there's actually a back office operation now. They're hiring financial analysts. So they require a CPA with Python skills. So para siyang blend of IT and accounting. I'm sure anyone who took up accounting never took up Python in school. Pero in India, kasama siya. So I think that's the difference. We're still quite traditional with our curricula. And the IT and the non-IT wall, super separated. So what happens is, yeah, you're an accountant, graduate. You'll take extra courses pa. Or the company will train you pa, extra cost. Where in India, ano na siya. So I feel it's also alignment with schools. They have to realize that. That's just one example. Maraming jobs na ganyan.
Sir, another question. I think another trend that people are looking at if an industry is a good place to work is the wages. I mean, do you expect wages to increase this year, or should we expect it to remain static, or what are your thoughts here, sir?
We, as a country, an IT TPM destination, are still cost competitive, but we are certainly not the lowest anymore. In general, India has become more cost competitive than us, but this has been going on for quite a few years. So this Philippines premium has existed for some time. So in a way, it's good because people are willing to pay more for our level of customer experience. But at the same time, you can never take away cost optimization as a criteria to invest in the Philippines. So it's a balancing act. I think there will always be pressure on wages, and I just think that we just need to balance our need to pay our employees fairly while remaining cost competitive. So it's not easy. Compensation is the biggest cost element in our industry, and so it's a number that people will always be monitoring very closely.
Thanks so much, Jack, and thank you, Alden. Yes, of course, ma'am.
Hold on. Sir, can you just probably could share with us yung attrition rate of the industry and what the common reasons why people leave the industry? Plus, secondly, if the problem is skills and talent, what kind of pitches do you do when you go on a roadshow? Like, how do you attract new investments? How do you attract all of these existing players to expand if there's not available talent to begin with? Does that parang curtail ba yung investments into the industry?
Yeah, it's a complex set of questions that we grapple with all the time. Attrition is a hard number to pinpoint because our industry is composed of many different types of businesses. Attrition rates are highest at the contact center sector, and that's not unique to the Philippines. It's globally high, and it's just the nature of our business, and it's really hard to compare. But those are I've heard of attrition rates in some companies that are as high as 50 to 60% per year, which is quite high. But if you look at our global capability centers, I just GCCs for short, JP Morgan, HSBC. Those since they are doing JP Morgan work and wearing JP Morgan badges, there's a certain hierarchy in our industry. The GCCs seemingly at the top. they have much lower attrition, and the nature of their attrition is different from a GCC because they have more stability, I guess, since they are working for only one company. The opportunities for those employees are more perhaps overseas, whereas at the contact center level, which has high attrition, but there's also very high demand. I guess some members of the younger generation feel that they can find a job anyway, even after a 1 or 2 month break, and so this I suspect is one of the reasons. There really is so much demand for jobs, and then I guess another factor is that a lot of our workforce seem to value mobility, and so they feel that they can travel from province to province, city to city, and since we enjoy remote work and work flexibility, they're able to work from anywhere, and that allows them, I guess, to switch jobs, especially those with higher skills. They know that they can find jobs basically anytime, and so that's part of the reason why attrition is it's a very challenging situation.
I have another question. It's about how do you pitch your...
Oh yes, sorry. Well, what we communicate as ibpap is really the need to regularly upgrade and strengthen one's skill set, because technology is changing so fast. The job expectations of our investors are also changing. They're becoming more complex. They're looking for a combination of domain and technical skills, and I think the call to action is really to take responsibility for your own learning journey. If you want to stay relevant, if you want to upgrade your job, you need to upgrade your skills. It's very, very competitive. It's not just India versus the Philippines anymore. There are other IT BPM destinations who want to take away some market share from the Philippines.
Thank you so much, Jack. Ms. Irma, thank you so much. Rafi, please go ahead.
Hi, Sir Rafi. I am from the Daily Tribune. Sir, in terms of regulations, are there still government regulations that the industry or your group is not comfortable with? Like taxes, ease of doing business.
How much time do we have? Well, ease of doing business will always be
A problem.
at the top of an investor's list of questions. We have come a long way since the previous administration, since those days. If you remember that we were trying to convince the government on the importance of work flexibility and remote work, especially when we were still in the COVID era. So fortunately, that has become less of an issue. We now have, much more flexibility than we used to have. There will always be occasional constraints to investors making decisions. These are constraints that that can happen both at the national or local level. The more recent challenges that we faced, Rafi, are at the LGU level. Fortunately, not all cities have been imposing what we feel are not correct.
Come on, do not sugarcoat.
We have some challenges on at the city LGU level, with respect to renewal of, I'll give you some examples, renewal of local business permits, for example, being connected to the health certificates of employees. And these are, these are quite disturbing and irritating to investors. Because, you have to remember that our investors, for the most part, are very compliant corporate citizens. They want everything in writing. They want everything documented. And if they have been granted, when they did their due diligence in deciding to invest, they accept the rules as written and will comply with them. Now, what is damaging is when these rules, which are well written mostly, are interpreted in a different way by different cities. And this is where it gets challenging because, I think we have perfectly fine laws and regulations. Where the problems come from is in the differing, inconsistent interpretation. We have a lot of smart lawyers all over, and they can argue and interpret these things quite differently. And whether they are right or wrong, the damage is done when our member companies get imposed penalty or charges. And then it's very, very difficult because these get reported back to head office, and it does affect the image of the country. So even if we eventually get it corrected, I feel that the damage is already done for issues that shouldn't even be an issue anymore. Unfortunately, our government is structured such that these very specific LGU issues are